Fantastic. So, speaking of fans, no.
No, we are not speaking of fans.
No, we're not
We're
speaking
not
of
speaking
fans.
of fans. No
We
fans.
shall never speak of fans. No fans.
Unless they pay $5. No.
No fans.
Hey, everybody. Sit down around the hearth, grab a frosty mug of ale. Welcome to the Lion's Pride Tavern, where we discuss all things Azeroth. Hey everybody, welcome to Lion's Pride Tavern podcast number 37.
Yay.
Tonight we talk about our raid weekend, and it pays to listen to other podcasts. But before all that, let's start off with introductions. I'm your host, Fafford. I play a Dwarven Beastmaster Hunter in the awesome game World of Warcraft. Next up, we have JoBui.
Hi, I'm JoBui. I play a Worgen Frost Mage.
And Lorelei.
Hi, it's Lorelei, your Night Elf Fury Warrior.
Epistle up north.
It's a rainy day here, but I'm still playing a Draenei Protection Paladin.
And Tapachino's back.
Hey, it's Tapachino. So glad to be back, your Night Elf Restoration Druid.
You sound like you're feeling very, very well.
Oh my god, I am so much better than this past week or two. I finally finished up my antibiotics today, and I'm definitely on the mend.
Did my rum cocktail help?
Yeah, it sure did. Either that or it was the hot toddy, or maybe the doctor's instructions had a lot to do with it.
Rum makes everything better.
Or at least it makes you forget how miserable you're feeling.
Yeah, that's it.
Maybe that's
Yarr.
all right, so something new for today. Just going to go over this briefly, guys. We've got a lot of listeners listening to us, and we've been paying for this podcast out of pocket, so I'm going to throw it out there to the listeners. If you go to our Facebook page, there's a single item there that you can purchase. It's called Your Name Announced on the Podcast. So what we'll do, just buy it for $5, and we will announce your personal name, your tune name, your Warcraft tune name, whatever you want announced. Just make sure you put that in the description when you get it, and when we receive it, we will make sure we announce you on the next podcast for the next week. So please go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/Lions Pride Tavern. You'll see it. It's at the very top of the list. It's pinned to the top of the postings, so you should be able to see it there. You just click on it, and it says buy now. $5, less than a cheeseburger at McDonald's. At least I think. I don't know what's a cheeseburger at McDonald's going for.
It is
Oh,
less
no,
than
I
5.
don't like cheeseburgers.
Big Mac, on the other hand, is over 5, so.
I'm telling you, everything's so expensive. So this is cheap compared to that. So you can also find us on our podcast is hosted on Podomatic.com, LionsPrideTavern.podomatic.com. We're on Facebook, as I said. We're also on iTunes, Google Play. So check us out. We love you listeners.
Absolutely.
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's start off with how we did on this weekend's raid. JoBui?
Well, on Friday night, we did our 5 bosses in the end of normal and blew through them pretty smoothly, as usual. We don't really run into much hiccups anymore. We're at a point now where we're kind of a little overpowered for that. So even with even if there's like a face pull or something and whatnot, it's not terribly challenging for the group anymore. But then we went on.
I have a comment for that. So
Yeah.
I have a Twitter feed too for Lions Pride, and Yoshi is one of our newest. She's an old raid member, but she just got back with us. She posted that she went from 0 to a 4-tier set in one raid night.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is nice. Well, I mean, I think I gave her a piece, and we had a couple of mage pieces drop for her, and yeah, I mean, she hauled in the loot. Uh, so then we went on to heroic, and for the first time, we got down the first three bosses on our first night of raiding, which is 8 bosses in total that we completed on Friday night, which was pretty spectacular. That was great work from everybody. Um, so we finally beat Trilliax on our first night of raiding. That
Woohoo!
Yeah. So then we went back, second night of raiding, and we went after Star Augur again. Now, the previous week we downed Star Augur in a single pull. Um, this week it was much messier. We had little mistakes made here and there, by various people and various things that happened, and it was like 1%, and I think the first pull was like 7% left on Star Augur when we died, and then the next one it was like 1%, and then we had a 0% pull. Um,
Yeah.
where it
Or
had like
99%.
it literally
Oh,
had but there was all these like strange pulls. I think it looked like Star Augur pulled Star Augur at one point. Like there was these weird pulls where like it was unintentional, and it was just kind of a mess. We did down Star Augur, and then we went on to Croesus, and that went pretty well. But we didn't down Croesus. Um, and we got pretty close to the end there. And mind you, we've only downed Croesus once before, and sometimes the second time is the hardest, But we still did moderately well on Croesus, but definitely need to clean that up. And I think we just need to be a lot tighter on Star Augur. You might have been right, Fafford, from the previous week, where we were just on a high from killing Croesus and went into Star Augur and just beat it down. But I I don't know. I think it was just maybe a series of mistakes. I don't know.
well, it
What do
was
you guys
kind of
think?
fluky too. I mean, a couple of us died even though we were in the spots that we were supposed to be from the frost, which hasn't happened before. So that was kind of weird. I mean, it just seemed weird stuff too.
Yeah,
Like you
Yeah,
said.
everything seemed off.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think the dying from our position was just, I think the markers were a little tight on the boss, and so we were getting inside of the range of some of the attacks that were normally outside of the range on. But yeah, it was just kind of a fluky night on the second night of raiding.
Well, if you also remember, that was the night we go to log in at our normal raid time, and everybody's in queue.
Yeah, the North American servers were having a real rough go on Saturday night.
Did they ever say what that was? Did they say it was a DDoS attack?
I didn't see anything that specified what it was. I did see some posts here and there, people complaining about the problem, but I didn't see any official posts as to what happened.
Yeah, it just said on their Twitter feed that it was they were aware that the authentication servers were acting up. So, but I wasn't going to say it, but since you brought it up, yeah, I think not that we're superstitious or anything, because we didn't invent the Care Bear stare, but we do it very, very well. And if you guys, your listeners, you don't know what that is, go to our YouTube site, because we also post this podcast on YouTube, and our lovely artist Donna Bell, she's one of our raid members. She draws a picture of one of us, of our tunes, and as she's drawing the digital picture, you can listen to our podcast. And I have that posted on our YouTube site. You can find that on our Facebook page. But we have a video there called the Care Bear Stare under the World of Warcraft playlist, and you can view what the Care Bear stare is. We won't go into a lot of detail, but it's typically something we do because we're not very superstitious. It's either that or the Marmot pun.
I don't know. I mean, I did put on my ghostly Iron Buccaneer hat costume just before that final pull that we downed Star Augur, so I think that might have had something to do with it.
Yeah, that
you
might
know?
have been it. I think we got out of sequence. we've been going the same bosses each week, and we down Croesus. We get that, yeah, we nailed him, and then we go up and get Star Augur in one pull, and it's like, that was nothing. That's a pinata. And this week we went to the pinata first, and
Yeah, I still
Well,
think
it's
it's an
funny is
easier
that-
fight.
I mean, we
than
couldn't even
Croesus.
get in the room.
Yeah, it was just a mess. It was such.
What we were talking about a couple of weeks ago about how we're so comfortable with normal and doing things that people get a little bit lead foot about what they're doing, and they don't move, they don't drop things in the right place. We had a lot of that going on, and especially in melee, people were, especially Saturday when we were doing heroic, there was the fell fire being dropped all over the place in melee, and I know I was next to two people who were just dropping it right on top of everybody, and I mean, you can move out of that. Again, it's that now it's so easy on normal, we forget that there's mechanics in heroic that you have to do. So I think that if everybody starts paying more attention and knowing that with these last bosses on heroic, it's you got to start paying attention, and you got to do what you're supposed to do and not just say, I'll blow it off. Healers will take care of me. People are running the fell over to the top of the healers. So, everybody's really got to start paying attention.
Well,
Yeah,
I think
Maybe
that's
it was
true,
a wake
though.
up call.
Well, I think that's true, though. I also do think there is there's probably a little bit of technical hijinks, because on Croesus, I remember one of our hunters tried to disengage, but was running on spot, in which case, there's some lag problems that a few people had, and all we need is a couple people with lag to really kind of have the whole thing messed up. So I think there might have been more than a little of that going on this week.
oh yeah, she had the Croesus, or what the on Croesus, she had the bomb that you got to move to the back, and she disengaged, and she just stood there, and we're like, move, 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 boom.
Well, she wasn't really standing there
Is
so
that
much as floating about a foot off the
Yeah,
ground
Yeah.
right.
and
that
kind
a
of
good
like waving
idea
her
to
arms.
disengage out of that? Doesn't that leave it just sit there?
No,
No.
it's
I mean,
it's
I
good.
don't get to see
No.
the back of that fight. I've never seen the back end of that fight, so I have no idea what goes on back there.
No, that bomb follows a player wherever it goes off after a few seconds, and it just explodes wherever they're standing when the timer runs out. So they try and get to the back of the bridge as far as they can. And so if they disengage, it just gives them a big leap back towards the back of the bridge, unless they're lagging, and then they just float there for a second.
Yeah, which is what happened to her. she
Oh, okay.
disengaged and she floated there, and it's a 5-second timer, and her lag was so bad that it didn't move, and it went off. It's just like right there. It's like, oops, what do you do?
What was really funny is we were telling her to move. We're like, go, 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 and then like she floated for a moment, and then about 3 or 4 seconds after the explosion, her lag like caught up, her internet lag, and we heard her over TeamSpeak saying, I'm trying.
Yeah, it was a very weird night on Saturday.
Yes, indeed.
We'll just chalk that one up to the day before Mother's Day.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I don't know, guys. So I'm thinking, and we'll put this up as a question. Do we need to do normals?
I don't think so.
I don't think so
Not
either.
unless there's
I would-
somebody who really needs something that's coming in new.
But then
Yeah.
but there
The-
gets to a point where, how much do you do that too? Well, I guess once we're comfortable with heroics, it won't matter.
I personally don't feel we need to do normals anymore. I think the group's strong enough that even if we have like a couple of players who are still gearing up a little bit, like Yoshi's getting re-geared, but they got geared up super fast, and Dizzy was new and got geared up really fast, and they can get the same gear in heroic, and we've got enough to carry most of them, I think, for them a little bit. We can't have too many like low number people in there in heroic because it is less forgiving. But
Well, let's look at the mechanics behind it. So on Saturday we have the most people always. I mean, we've maxed out our group several times in the last few weeks. So if we start off Saturday on heroics, we're going to get further. And then on Saturday, we get less people. Now, I guarantee you, I haven't looked at the numbers, but I pretty much 95% guaranteed that the reason we didn't make it very far on Saturday was because we were missing some key DPS that got us through the last compared to last weekend. We had a little bit different makeup, and that's always an issue. Makeup is always an issue.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was I don't know if it was the weirdness of the night, but we had some folks that normally do better that were not doing very well on Saturday too. So normally they get higher numbers than I was seeing them get, which was unusual. I don't know if people were just having an off night on top of the weird server stuff or what, but
Well, I've got another way I'm looking at this too, which is I don't think it's just a question of what we're going to get for gear, but also what we're going to be doing in terms of developing skill with our players. So I would be inclined to keep the last two bosses, so we keep practicing that, because we do find we have a good enough margin that we can get by. But I think practicing the mechanics of that fight and being comfortable and familiar with that will really pay off if we switch into doing mostly heroics, because we could knock out the two bosses pretty quickly, but we're still paying attention to some of those mechanics. And I'd be afraid that we'd lose. I've seen this happen before in our raids. We've lost kind of that collective knowledge and banged our head against the wall for far too long, just because we're not comfortable with the flow of the fight.
And that's a good suggestion, actually. Because the last two, Elson and Gul'dan, tomato, they are a little messier fights, even with our group, I've noticed.
I like those fights. But personally, I think they're fun.
I do too. Yeah, they are.
But they've got mechanics, especially Gul'dan, where we've been getting really lucky that we kind of beat him just sometimes by the skin of our teeth, that we're not going to be able to do that on heroic.
Correct.
Yeah, now, the other thing to take into consideration is that, the overall difficulty level rises with the number of players. So if we've got 30 players going into heroic, the boss is going to have 30 players worth of health and all of that. So, I mean, I think the scaling isn't too bad that we need to worry too much, but it is something to consider as well.
Right. Yeah, that's why I brought it up. But I think it's still doable. But there's people that have whispered me already, saying, "Hey, next week can I bring in a different tune, because I'm not getting anything normals on this tune that they're currently on." And I shot him down because I wanted to discuss it with the panel. It's either we forego the normal runs, and we've had this conversation before, or we do an alt run on Saturday, and then pick it up with just straight up heroic on Saturday. Or did I say that right?
No, you mean alt run on Fridays and then
yeah,
and then your a heroic
and then
run
heroics
on
Saturdays. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really like the idea of doing an alt run because it'd be kind of cool to get an alt up. At the same time, I mean, a lot of players, they're really focusing on their main, and I don't really have much interest in playing an alt in a raid situation personally. I'm sure there are some folks who would love to do that, but I would say, especially with what do we got? Probably another 7 weeks or something, 6 or 7 weeks until Tomb of Sargeras comes out. I would say it might be just better to push on heroic and see if we can get that AOTC before Tomb of Sargeras comes out.
Yeah, that's actually what I was thinking. Is my decision would be based on when Tomb of Sargeras comes out. Like, if it's going to be coming out in 6 or 7 weeks, then I'd rather start, keep going with the heroics instead of starting an alt. It's not like we're going to have months before the next one comes out, and we'll have time, and want to do an alt. So that would be my vote too, is to not start alt runs with it being so close.
Yeah, I'm also less interested in alts. I'm with you guys on that one.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's the other way of doing it. Lorelai, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think if we start with the first bosses on Friday when we have more people, we'll be able to get through probably maybe 5 of those bosses. And then Saturday we can work on the other ones because I know Spellblade's going to take us a while to get down. We've got to really get used to some mechanics on that one. And Spellblade, I mean a Star Augur, we can do that. That was just a lot of messy stuff going on because we've done it before. So there's no problem with that fight. It's just paying
It was a
attention.
fluke.
We
Yeah,
need to do
I mean it was
Croesus
just
first.
well, and Croesus will take Croesus is kind of hard just in the fact that you don't have much room to play with. That's the only really hard part of that fight. And I think people get when you lose like the first 2 parts of the bridge and you're getting closer to the back, people start panicking. And that's natural because you're like, "Oh, I got to figure out where I'm going. He's throwing that fell beam 2 times in a row and I got to run back and forth and you got slam, you got nowhere to go." And people will pick that up. That's not that bad a fight. It just takes a couple of tries before you get the hang of it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it overall for the raid group, I think the raid group's pretty much at a point where it's ready to just push heroic at this point.
People are going to need that gear also when we go into Tomb of Sargeras.
You mean the heroic here?
Yeah, I think they're going to need, if they have people with heroic gear, it's going to make the Tomb of Sargeras easier.
Yeah, I think it'll certainly take the edge off when we go into Tomb of Sargeras if we're running in there with mostly heroic gear as opposed to normal gear for sure.
Yeah, we'll progress a lot faster.
Sounds pretty much like I think we'll just stop the normals if we're in agreement, and then we'll just start off Friday with heroic.
Yep, sounds good.
Good plan.
All right. So, is there anything new anybody's learned while they've been wowing? Lorelai?
Well, yes, I did. I learned that we have a new profile page on the Armory, and it's really cool looking. And you can search all your achievements, your PvP, your pets. You can look at every pet you've got and see what level it is. I don't think it shows you if they're rare or not. I didn't play with that too much, but you can look at your mounts, and you can look up anybody if you're looking to see what they've got, and it's good for guild masters who are looking to bring people into the guild. You can check them out and see what their progression is and how they're doing. And I think it's just a really clean looking page. So I think they did a really good job with that.
It's good for stalking, too.
It is.
You can stalk your favorite Lion's Pride Tavern podcast member.
Ooh,
Cool.
and then tell them that they forgot to gem.
Yep, exactly.
How about Joe Bowie? You learned anything new this week?
I did. Momentum is back for mages. It's a little late to the party.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but apparently back in 7.1 patch, they gave mages momentum, but they didn't bother to tell anyone that they did it. If you talk to your mage trainer, you have an option to activate arcane momentum for your tune. For those of you who don't know, momentum allows mages to blink in whatever direction they're running. This allows mages to blink sideways, backwards, or even at angles. It used to be a glyph in Warlords of Draenor, but now it's just something you ask your mage trainer for. I never talk to my mage trainer anymore, so I didn't see it. And apparently a lot of other mages didn't know about it either, but it came up recently in a post that I saw, and I was like, what? Momentum is back. And I went and I got it, and now I have my lovely momentum back.
Wow, that's great. I didn't know
Have to go
that
to
they
my
took that
trainer.
away. That's a terrible
Mhm.
thing to do. I'm glad you guys got it back.
Yeah, it was a glyph before, a minor glyph actually, and
Ah,
I loved it. I used it all the time, and then it was gone, and I missed it. And I kind of got used to not having it, and now I've got it back, so I've kind of got to retrain myself to my old momentum skills, which is great for things like, I'm facing the boss, I'm casting my spells, I need to move out of something. I can just blink to the side. or I can blink backwards and I still face the boss without having to turn my screen around, turn my camera around and then blink away and then turn my camera back towards the boss. It's so much nicer.
See, my mage, I never used that glyph, so I've always used it the way it was. Now it's not. So I never used it. So I could see the blinking sideways or even blinking diagonally.
Yeah.
Did he say Diagon Alley?
Diagon Alley, what? No, but yeah, I mean, I use that all the time. It's such and once you get used to it, it's becomes second nature.
And so annoying when it's gone.
Oh, God, I hated it when it was gone. When Legion came out, I was just like, no! In fact, I think I even mentioned it in the podcast previously.
I think, yeah.
How could you do that to us?
But it's back, so thank you, Blizzard, for giving back momentum months ago, and I wish I would have known it sooner.
That's cool. Well, I've learned absolutely nothing new. Well, no, I take that back. I did learn new that I still don't have flying yet.
Good
Oh,
grief.
no
What are we
way.
going to do with you?
I had all of the Suramar's quests to do. I am down to the last 4. So it's
This
happening.
week. You're going to get it this week.
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
That's
4,
a
come
lot
on,
of work.
You can do that. No.
Maybe you could pay your daughter to do it for you or something.
I tell you what, though, it's really nice when Mommy comes and helps me because she flies me all over. But I tell you what, I don't know how you guys did it without flying. Getting around that city, ugh.
Oh, I hated that.
Oh, it is a pain, that's for sure.
I loved
know.
it, but because I'm a tank, I think.
Now, see, I loved it, but I was a fire mage, and they got like self
much
heals and
squishier.
stuff.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but fire mages have shields and self heals, and I have the legendary shield chest piece, and so a fire mage with a legendary shield chest piece, the Bellavier's, that is very, very tanky, and I mean it makes it like really, really hard to die as a fire mage.
What helped me was being a druid, because then you just prowl, and it was a little easier to get around that way, but it was still a pain. But as a druid, I obviously had heal too, so I could keep myself alive. And I think a good way to do that is find groups that are there killing stuff, and if you can kind of hang with them and follow them around, that helps as well.
And thank goodness for the raft that we got in Pandaria, because when I got tired of getting attacked by things on the ground, I just jumped on my raft and ran around to the outside of it. That helped a lot too.
Yeah.
At least
Traveling
you're
down
better
the
geared for
canals
it
and
now
around
too.
the harbor. That made it a lot easier.
Well, I mean, just simple things like, I mean, I'll be flying, riding along with Mommy, and I'll say, okay, it's right there. It's right below us. And we'll drop down, and it's like the quest guy. Where is he? He's around the corner, around the building, it's like, drives you nuts.
Yeah.
The one part I didn't like about that was when I was about Suramar was I was trying to get the achievement for kill all the mini boss skulls on the map kind of thing. There's an achievement for that, and there was this one that was up on top of one of the buildings, and for the life of me I could not figure out how to get up there.
Oh, that took me forever, that one too.
Mm-hmm.
I eventually figured it out. I mean, I was trying things like weird, like jumping from thing to thing and trying to like get up on the edges of buildings. And at one point I got up on the wrong building and somebody else was over there fighting it, and they got it within range of me, and I managed to shoot a fireball across from another building and hit it. And so I got the kill, but getting up on top of the building was such a pain.
I think you had to go across to get a bridge or something, if I remember that one.
Yeah.
You also could use your grapple hook. That's how you got up on a lot of those. But the grapple hooks were really hard to see.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, they are.
It's actually a set of stairs that's like, there's a set of stairs that goes up onto a second level that's like way far north of where the little mini boss actually is. And then you had to like go across all these little bridges and pathways up on the upper level of all these buildings, and you would get to that that boss, but oh man, it was a pain to find.
Well, now see, that's the only thing that I found that I've liked so far, because I just have mommies fly me to the top.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, with
Which-
flying,
Which
Yeah,
I
easy
have
level.
had,
whole game.
which she has done. Because I knew exactly when you started talking about that quest, I was like, oh yeah, that's the one we just flew right up there and killed the guy.
Yep.
Yeah, so much nicer. So, of course, I did learn something new. So, I have a third alt. It's my druid healer, and I brought her over, got her class hall started, and then I went away for like 2 months. So, I come back to her. She's in Dalaran, and I could not figure out how to get, except to fly with the flight path, how to get back to where the class hall was. So right before the raid, I'm typing tap, going, Obi-Wan tap, you're my only hope. Can you help me? And
He
you
really
were
did
away.
too.
I did, and you were away. So Faye, our other druid, she's like, I can help you. What do you need? I'm like, I don't know how to get there. And she goes, oh, there's a Moonglade
There's a button.
button for
Yep.
it. That
Yeah.
teleports you there. And I'm like, oh. And then you show up and you're in this glade, and then you're like, well, which portal do I go through? I was having a really tough time. So, and then I didn't even want to ask because I felt so bad for asking everything. I couldn't find the stupid tree because my artifact power went up and it empowered my weapon. I couldn't find the tree, so I'm running. I searched every square inch of the grounds. And I saw like 6 guys standing around this little tiny tree.
Yeah, that was it.
And that was
I-
it.
I do have to say it was a little confusing at first because everything's kind of spread out. It's not symmetrical like some places could be.
Yeah,
So,
like
but you
the
get used to it quick enough.
like the Paladin Hall is totally everything is square and right angles, and it's to save tanks from getting confused.
I still have trouble in the Paladin place trying to find the some of the recruiters. That one, I could never find him.
Oh, all I got to say is thank God for the new app. Otherwise, I wouldn't have any of those little dudes to help my followers.
There is one other thing. We might have mentioned it before that I'm not sure, but as our artifact knowledge goes up, when your artifact knowledge goes up 5 levels, like let's say you're at 35, if you remember, there was these tokens, these like instant artifact knowledge tokens that you can buy for, I think it's 1,000 class hall resources that you can send to your alts. Well, if you get your artifact knowledge up to say 35, then when you buy one of those tokens, the artifact knowledge that it will raise your alts to is 30.
Same
and if you
price.
get to same price. And if you get up to like level 40 or level 45, at level 45, the artifact token bonus will take your artifact knowledge of your alt up to level 40 instead
Okay.
of.
So
Yes.
that's what I learned this week. That's what I was hoping to learn this week, and I just did a couple minutes as you're speaking there, Jabui, because I have 3 characters I'm really spending a lot of time with. One, of course, has an enormous amount of resources, and that's Epistle. But my 2 alts have very little, and I've been going out to farm resources primarily to use them to keep leveling that knowledge. But it sounds like it's going to be way more cost effective just to buy them every time they get up to that next tier. It still would be cheaper to do that than to try to farm them on
Yeah.
all the tunes by
Yeah,
quite a large margin.
1,500 class hall resources cheaper for sure. Because it costs you, for 5 levels, it would cost you 2,500 class hall resources. So it's cheaper to just pay the 1,000 off your main and send another token over every 5 levels.
Okay, that's going to save me some grinding right there.
Okay, but Blizzard's not about being nice all the time. So the one thing you got to understand is you've already got to be level 110 to use those tokens.
Yeah, you do. But you don't even unlock artifact knowledge until you hit 110 anyway. You have to suffer through getting
Yeah.
almost no artifact power initially.
Oh, but it's really cool though because your weapon is like you need 400 artifact power to raise your weapon up another level. It's like
Well, that's what's really great about that is like you hit 110, you send your alt that just hit 110 one of these tokens, and right now if I send one, it's worth 30 artifact knowledge. They go out and do one world quest, and they've got most of their traits.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's really a time saver for alts, huge time saver, especially as it goes up. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't our artifact knowledge max out at 50 now?
Yes.
Okay.
50.
Don't even know how much that'll be, but
So the trade-off is you don't do any world quests on your main. You don't do any in your so you only do them on your main. You don't do them on any alts because you don't need to. You just have your main do that work for them. So you save some time that way, and then use that time to level your other tunes up.
Right. Yeah, it's all about leveling the tune. Now you can start doing world quests at 105, I think. But
Can you? I
yeah.
know, because World Quest is also 110.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Because as soon, but although now it's when you hit World 110, you can immediately go talk to Khadgar, and Khadgar is like, "Oh, world quests and artifact knowledge, here you go." Like, congratulations, you get to do world quests right away. Because a long time ago, we had to like unlock world quests, and I don't even remember how we had to do it, but we don't with our alts anymore. Until
very cool.
just hit 110 and go talk to Khadgar and
then send them tokens.
Yeah.
All right, so Tapachino, did you learn anything new this week in WoW?
Yes, I did. I know we were talking about a gnome race a while ago. I don't know if that was just us in the guild or if we actually talked about it on the podcast. But there's new info on the yearly gnome race for Cancer. Blizzard has officially recognized this player-created event and will be making it a micro-holiday event. All you need to do is create a level 1 gnome and head outside the starting area. You'll find the starting line and a quest giver. This gnome race started back in 2010 and has taken place each year since. If you've never participated in a level 1 gnome race, you really should try it. It is a lot of fun. It's some of the best laughs you'll have in the game. Although apparently not, from what I can find, only druids and mages have one at this point.
So nobody else but druids and mages have won. Interesting.
In our guild, we had somebody do monks, and they were able to do pretty well because they could roll, and that helps you when you can roll instead of just running.
That double roll.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Do mages get blink at level 1?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to think why a druid and the mages, what would make them so fast.
I didn't write that in there, so I don't know where that came from.
Because I don't think, druids don't get prowl or cat form right away. You start off as a balanced druid.
Maybe it's just druids and mages are luckier.
Go team mages.
Didn't write it. Don't know who put it in there, but maybe somebody knows something I don't know. We've done gnome races, and we've done what are they called? Tauren, level 1 Tauren races. That's rough. Getting out of that fort is now they put alliance camps all around it. That's evil. That was just bad.
Now, I've done like the gnome race before, just fun with the guild, but I didn't realize that it was actually a yearly thing for Cancer. I think that's just fantastic that people would do something like that for such a great cause, and for Blizzard to recognize that is just real big kudos to them.
All right, so as I mentioned in our monologue, that it pays to listen to other podcasts. So what I'm talking about there is I listened to the Goblin Goldcast, and I mentioned them on the air, and I told them that I mentioned them, gave them a shout-out. So they gave us a shout-out on episode, I said it was 40, but it's actually episode 41. Episode 40 is where they went to Vegas, and apparently they didn't make any gold in Vegas. I don't get that. But one of the things they had mentioned in their podcast, they used TSM, and I had no idea what this was. So I backed up a few episodes, and I was listening to them, and they mentioned it quite a few times. Finally, one of them said the name of what TSM stands for, and it's Trade Skill Master. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Trade Skill Master, and then I'm going to see what you guys have done with it. So not all of you have probably used it, but I know in the last 5 days, I have made, just by cleaning out my bags, because they mentioned do the older content stuff, Draenor and Pandaria. Go back, clean out your bags, stuff you've gotten in there that you've never used, you're never going to use. So I went back and I started cleaning out my bags, and in the last 5 days, I've made over 11,000 gold just selling the stuff that I had in my bags. And a lot of it came from Draenor, just doing my junk in my large loot crates and stuff, because I had a ton of them that I've never done, but apparently they're big transmog things. So, and then going back and making old potions and stuff. So listen to the Goblin Goldcast, get TSM, set it up. There's a great gal on YouTube that does some videos on it and how to set it up. You can just search that and you'll see her get it set up. But has anybody else used TSM in the past or are using it currently now to make any gold? Jobui?
No, I have not. I make most of my gold by having bonuses on my champion bodyguard. It's not really a bodyguard, he just gives me a buff, but by having him have gold bonuses. So I make about 125 gold per world quest, and that's how I make most of my gold these days.
Yeah, because that 200, when you get that second one, it's what, like 1,500 gold for the bonus.
No, I mean like just going out and doing world quests. You know, like if
Oh, I gotcha.
I gave him champion armaments that, like, he's got one that gives me 50, another that gives me 50, and one that gives me 25. So I get 125 per world quest that I do.
Yeah, but on the gold missions for the champions.
Yeah, that's nice too. That's pretty lucrative. I
Yeah,
make
if you
gold
get the
that way
bonus. Yeah, if you get the bonus, that's 1,500 gold every time you get the bonus.
too. Yeah, usually about 2 to 2.5 grand per one of those if you get the 200% on it.
Yeah. So have you guys noticed, just to switch subjects, there's some 3-day missions that are coming up?
Yeah,
No, didn't notice.
Yeah.
those are from the command. Is it the command hall or is it? Yeah, I think it's the command center from the Broken Shore.
Yep. When the command center comes up, there's 3 of them. One's for shards, one's for gold? No.
No, it's artifact power, a big fat token of artifact power.
Yeah.
It's neither shards, 7,500 neither shards, and then there's another one that gives you, I think, 500 Legion Fall resources.
I just noticed that the other day because I've gotten, they're 900 level, so you got to have your followers up to 900. I've got all 3 of them, but I've only unlocked the 3rd slot on one of my guys. It's like taking forever for them to go up in experience to open up that 3rd slot.
You got to be careful with those though, because some of them, you know, especially for a mage, like I have one of my followers is I've got Millhouse Manastorm, and one of his effects is he gets a bonus on chance for the win. You know, like when he does a mission, but it doubles the amount of time it takes. So if I send him on one of those missions, it can take 12 days. You got to be careful that you don't send somebody like him so that it gets locked up for like 12 days or something like that. Because, you know, it's pretty much more lucrative to send them out on other missions. But yeah, those are pretty cool missions.
TSM, Epistle.
Yeah, I do use it, but I'm not using it for selling things on the auction house so much. I do use it for that, but I'm not using my bank tune a lot. What I find convenient is just to try to keep my bags clean. So I take all the greens I get and automatically mail them to the tune that's going to disenchant them, who then automatically disenchants them. Same thing with different materials like herbs and or cloth. They all get shipped to the tune that's going to use them, and I find that is a great addition to my quality of game life.
Oh, I love that part of it. It's just awesome. One click, and it sends whatever you got in the group to whoever you want it to go to. Love it.
Yeah, so much simpler than did that green end up? Yeah, no, not a lot of hunting in your bags, which is probably one of my least favorite things in game to do.
Bag management.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, indeed.
How about Lorelei? TSM.
I just heard about it tonight, and I think I will probably download it because I am a hoarder, and I don't want to get rid of anything in case I can sell it. So I've got banks full of stuff. So I'd be glad to get rid of that and sell it and make some money.
I'm telling you, I couldn't believe some of the prices for the Draenor stuff that I was getting. It was like $4 or $5 for stupid things, and it's like, I get it. If you're into transmogging, you got to have that specific look. You're willing to pay for it. So apparently they are. But I was selling just for the weekend of the Dark Moon Fair. I was selling all my. I usually just sell them to the vendor. Those stupid fair quests. I never go over there anymore. But now they're selling for like 150, 200 gold a piece during the Dark Moon Fair week. So keep them in mind. It's good money to be made. Tap, what about you? You use TSM?
I used to use it, but I didn't really understand it because I didn't take the time to, to really look up and see what it could do. I mean, there were some of the basic functions, like auction prices and stuff. But, now that we've talked about it, I am definitely going to start using it. I've already checked out the YouTube. I'm going to check out that video when I can. Soon, like probably tomorrow. And it's by Hazel Nutty Games, if that's okay to say.
Yes, that's her.
She's got a couple videos on it that I will definitely be checking out, and that is on YouTube for those of
Yes.
you who want to check it out.
And she does a fantastic job, guys. I mean, just incredible. Uh, Helping you just set it up. The very first video is about groups, and you just follow it step by step. And it's not difficult to get a hold of, the concept. Once you realize the way she sets it up, it's just organization. And then the mailing one, she's got a whole video on just doing the mailing. So, just take it step by step, set up all your stuff, just set up a few things. It's unreal how much money you can make in a short period of time. And I don't spend a lot of time with it. I log on maybe once a day. I go to that bank tune, collect all the gold, out the mailbox, and it's really cool because there's like 4 buttons. One that's like you hit collect all your sales, and all the stuff you sold, it'll process that mail, and it'll give you a total. Well, you just made 1,200 gold, and then you can do the expires, and then all the auctions that expired will be now put in your bag. So you can collect certain things in certain orders, so you don't have to clutter up your bags, So it's really cool.
That
Very,
is
very
pretty
powerful.
cool. And I think getting it sounds like it can do so much too, so it's going to be worth it checking out, from a professional, I guess you could say, on how to use it.
One thing to watch out for, though, is if you ever have trouble with your interfaces and delete, the W2F folder,
Mm-hmm.
you'll lose all of that configuration. So I did that once. That was a bit frustrating.
Yeah, because then you gotta go put them all back in. Now,
Yeah.
the new TSM, I don't know about the ones in the past, but the new TSM, you can actually, you got to be careful about this. It's just like with weak ores, you can go find strings to import that has all the information in it. But anytime you import something from somebody, you got to make sure that you're trusting where that's coming from. So you can do the same thing with the groups. You can actually go find imports of like all the battle pets ever made, and then you've already got them in a list. So it's not like it's really, you have to do it on your own. You can do it, but just be leery, trust your sources. And she talks about that too, doing the import, just being careful. So, yep.
I'm kind of on the other end of that spectrum. I'm one of the people that pays good gold for nice transmogs.
That's why I brought the transmogs up. I was like, Jobui's one that'll do that. If he doesn't have to go find it, I bet you he buys it.
I have been known to do that. If it's available on the auction house and I can save hours of time trying to hunt it down, I'll just buy it on the auction house.
One of my favorite quotes off the Goblin Goldcast was, he said he gets a lot of people comment, "Oh, I made so much money in Draenor," and other people like, "I didn't make any money in Draenor," and it's like, how could you not make any money off the
Yeah.
floor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Although I have to admit, my WoW character is richer in Legion than I was in Draenor.
Oh, not mine. I spent a lot of money when I started hitting Legion.
I have been too, but I just keep going up and up and up in my gold. I
Well,
don't know what it is. Probably just because I do a ton of world quests, but
that's going to be it. I mean, that's one of the things they talked about is that making money in the current expansion. It's all about doing the content. You know, going out and doing the quests and so on, and you can make money. And then obviously everybody, when a new expansion comes out, wants to sell the newest and greatest stuff that's out there. And that's what's cool about these two guys, Dex and Mac. They don't talk about the newest stuff. They go back and they're like, yeah, go back to Pandaria and get those the sorcerer's stuff, sorcerer's air and fire, and sell those. And it's like, yeah, they're cheaper, but people are still buying them because people are coming up through Pandaria.
And
Still.
it's really funny. A bunch of us this morning went out and did a Pandarian raid just to get a few achievements. There's a bunch of crap in my bag, or at least I was thinking it was. And now you're telling me it's gold and then their bags.
Yeah. There's a treasure just sitting there waiting for you. Just got to know how to utilize it.
That's
See-
going to the auction house.
see my favorite part
Unless
about doing old
JoeBui, you want to buy it off me?
Yeah. Well, like one of my favorite things about doing the old content now is when I see that beautiful little message over in my chat window that says this item has been added to your appearance library. And I'm like, yes, another thing.
All right. Anyway, it is time. Cue the music. It's time for Lorelei's Pet Battle Minute.
Hello. Today, I'd like to talk to you about some various achievements that you can earn through the Legion expansion. The first one is called Battle on the Broken Isles, and you need to collect 30 out of 33 battle pets listed in the achievement. And when you do, you will get an item called the Pocket Pet Portal. And this is a one-time use item, and it will set your total pet maximum to 1,500. And this is account-wide, so you only need to do it one time. The next is the Family Pet Battle achievement called Family Familiar, which requires that you defeat each of the 12 master tamers on the Broken Shores using a team of pets from each family, like undead, all three critters, dragons, etc. And the reward for earning this achievement is the Nightmare Treant. That's one I haven't done yet, but I'm going to be doing that in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to start working on that one. There are some new profession-related pets too. Hit up your friends and guildies for these. You can get the Enchanted Cauldron, Pen, and Torch from Enchanters, Stingray Pup from the Fishing, and that you can purchase from Conjurer Magos, the Transmutant from Alchemy, Trigger from Engineering, and Wormy Tunkins from Archaeology. And these would also make good items to sell in the auction house. And I suggest that now is also a good time to use your TSM and take your old profession related pets and start making them your engineer and your blacksmith. And I believe there's one that engineering had and that tailoring had too. And many new players that have never gotten these before should be able to buy them on the auction house now, and you should be able to make some money off of them. And that's your pet minute for today.
Getting deeps with JoeBui.
All right. One really great way to improve your DPS is by acquiring tier gear from raids for the set bonuses. Tier gear has a 2-set bonus and a 4-set bonus. What that means is that if you wear 2 of the pieces of gear, you'll get 1 bonus, and if you wear 4 of the pieces of gear, you'll get a 2nd bonus. One change that they've made from Warlords of Draenor to Legion is that raid tier gear is compatible from Raid Finder all the way through Mythic difficulties. So if you have 3 pieces of tier gear from normal, you can make some runs through Raid Finder and possibly pick up a piece of gear to complete your 4-set bonus from there. For most classes and specs, a 2-set bonus and a 4-set bonus is a big DPS increase. So much so that more often than not, a piece of tier gear that completes a bonus is often far better than keeping a piece of gear on that is much higher item level. One of the other nice things about Legion is that there are 6 pieces of tier gear available for every class. That means that if you acquire all 6, then you can go through your gear and decide which of the 4 would be the best choice for you to use. Some considerations might be the stats on the gear, or whether or not you have a legendary you want to use in a particular slot. Either way, tier gear is a great way to get a nice boost to your DPS. So go get yourself some tier gear and keep getting those deeps.
Awesome. Epistle, come at me. The tanking minute.
Come at me. This week we're talking about a fine point in AoE tanking. Namely, how many followers do I have? People obsess about, how many people are following them on Twitter or Facebook or like their postings. Well, the tanking version of that is how many of the mobs in an AoE are actually on you and how many might be on, say, the other tank. It's a little tricky if you don't have tools to figure out exactly how many are on you, and a little notification to say you're losing threat when you've got 8 mobs you're supposed to be keeping on you is not so good. You don't want one of those mobs peeling off and going and hitting a healer or killing one of your DPS. So how do you keep track of those individual ones? Or, for the very competitive among us, how do you know if you're actually holding more threat than the other tank? Not that any tank has sort of professional pride like that. But anyway, if you did, here's how you would know. There's a little add-on. There may be others that could do the trick too. One that I use called Tidy Plates. And I think we've talked about that before. The advantage of Tidy Plates is that when you do a pull, the mobs immediately light up as red if you have no threat on them. They go kind of yellow-orange when you're building threat on them, and then they go blue when you've got them. And the blue color tends to actually disappear in the background, which is a good thing, which means that in your field of view, you see the mobs, you get a little bit of an overlay of blue, all as well. But if you got that one that's red, and it starts to peel off from the middle of that group, that is exactly the information you need to know that one of those mobs is going off on one of your healers or DPS or something else. So the great thing about the interface, you can click right on that bar, the red bar of the mob that's pulling away, and immediately taunt, throw a shield, whatever trick you have to get them back on you. And it's a great way, just a great tool to sort of let you know who's following you and when you've lost a follower. And that's Come At Me a Tanking Minute for this week.
That's awesome. I love Tidy Plates. It works fantastic. Tapachinos, tap into the healing minute.
Hello, tonight I want to talk about being a new healer. And the first thing I want to say is congratulations on choosing a fun and challenging spec. You're going to be a hero to your raid, or, in their opinion, the cause of all their death and misery. But don't let that change your mind. Healing is a very rewarding spec, and like I said, very fun to play. The first thing you want to ask yourself is, what kind of healer do I want to be? Some healers are strong with single targets like Holy Priests and Holy Paladins, so they make great tank healers. Excellent raid-wide healers are Resto Shamans and Resto Druids. Mistweavers have a good variety of spells for both single and multiple targets. Disc Priests are a unique combination of heals and DPS. Though they can be challenging to learn, they are a great addition to any raid. That being said, though, any healing spec can do tank healing, multi-target, or a mix, so don't let any of this deter you from choosing the class you want to be. Now, keep in mind, with Legion, Blizzard gave us the ability to change specs, and we can also set our loot preference as well. So having to do world quests while you're trying to get healing gear, you can still use your DPS or tank spec, and just change the loot preference to restoration. Great websites for healers are, for instance, Wowhead and Icy Veins. Icy Veins even has an easy mode, which will give you the basics, so you can go and heal without having to know all the cooldowns, buffs, and all the little detail that you'll eventually get into. But it's something that you can at least go and start using your healing spec. Now, once you're ready to go, I suggest going to LFRs. They're a great, less stressful way to learn to heal and get used to what, you can do. There's a lot of other players. Everybody is just there to kill the bosses and get through it. So, you're one among many, and it's a good way to, practice what you're learning. Now, on the other hand, if you want to start a healer from scratch, You're not going to have the advantage of doing LFRs. I mean, you're going to be starting at level 1, but doing dungeons as soon as you can is a great way to heal and to learn to heal. Most of the time, not always, the people in your party are easy to heal. I mean, a lot of them are, nowadays are alts, so people already know how to play the game. I would say, the first time they do go into a dungeon to heal is just give people a heads up and say, hey, this is my first time healing. And 9 out of 10 times, people are cool about it. They're like, okay, fine. If not, then you probably don't want to play with them anyways. Or if you're in a guild, I'm sure your guildies will help you out. You also don't have to start as a healer, but can start as DPS. As a matter of fact, druids start off as balance. And then when you get to your dual spec, you can grab your healer spec and then go back and forth as you level and quest and do dungeons. You can quest out in the world as a DPS, go into dungeons and stuff and heal, and that's, a great way to start leveling up and learning your spec as well. Again, using websites such as Wowhead and Icy Veins are useful to learn to heal. There are also other great forums out there if you search for your particular spec. So again, grats on your decision and have a blast saving your part of the world.
Awesome. So this is going to be a tribute to all the Restro Druids out there. Dot, 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 dot. WFN News. WFN News, it's Warcraft Tavern News. The Legion Dungeon event ends Tuesday, so by the time you hear this podcast, you've got one more day to go out and get 4 mythic dungeons done to get your loot. Now, typically when we do these minutes, I always let everybody do it on their own. We try not to interrupt each other, but I'm going to pull the entire panel here, and I'm going to ask each one of them in order to do their best Leroy Jenkins impression. JobUui?
Oh, goodness.
Leroy Jenkins.
Lorelei?
Leroy Jenkins.
Epistle?
Leroy Jenkins.
Tapachino?
Leroy Jenkins.
And now me, Leroy Jenkins. By the way, he turns 12 today. It was 12 years this week that Leroy ran in and wiped his raid.
That was the best fun.
The video is still on YouTube.
Yes.
It's in the highest quality of 480p.
I
But-
love that they brought that in so you could in Warlords of Draenor where was it Black Rock Mountain?
Yep.
Where you could actually like have Leroy in there and he's all like, "Oh, what's going on, guys?" It was awesome.
They got him as an achievement. You can get his last name now as a title.
I had him
He
as a
even had
follower.
Yep, you get follower, and he was even on one of the questions on Jeopardy.
Oh, yeah. I think the last BlizzCon they had him there. They invited him to come.
Yep.
And if you
Yeah.
haven't seen, there's another video where they use the whole Leroy Jenkins fight, the audio, and they do it to a bank robbery. And it is hilarious.
Yes, it is. It's really good. All right, guys, that's going to be a wrap for tonight. So, thanks everybody for listening, and thank you, the panel, for showing up and doing this podcast with me. Good night, all.
Sure.
Okay.
Good
Good
night.
night. Thank you, everybody.
See you guys next week.
If you like this podcast, throw us a like and subscribe to our channel. And please, leave comments or questions below. Maybe we'll answer them on the air next podcast. We are hosted on Podomatic.com. Our website is lionspridetavern.podomatic.com. Our podcast also airs on iTunes for Apple users, Google Play for Androids, and YouTube. Just search World of Warcraft Lions Pride Tavern podcast. See you next week, and thanks for listening.